All right, today this Goldie painting in Japanese style, yeah, the cranes, the reeds. So color-wise, actually really limited, what I liked a lot. So of course, gold paint. Depends which one you have. I have mixed it some parts also with yellow, because mine gold is actually quite transparent. And in some parts it works really nicely, especially those parts where I want to show like more light. Then I use just gold and I let the paper shine through, and then it gives me lighter effect. And the other parts I was mixing with yellow, so then it gives me more thick amount.
Opaque.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
okay, for the grass, I also had some green, and you mix it with yellow, or depends which one, you know, kind of.
Yeah.
And that's it. Then some black, some tiny red for the details, and and we're done. So color-wise, it's not the complicated part. Probably more the sketch.
Yeah.
So let's start with the sketch. So as I understand, you're doing normal A4 paper. That's cool. And I'm excited to see how it turns out, the composition. Maybe a few words about this artwork. So it's actually not a painting in a classical way, you know, like canvas put on wall. It is actually a piece of furniture.
Okay.
And you maybe know in Chinese, Japanese culture, they would have these open areas at house. So they use it's a wall, but it's like a folding wall that they use, you know, to cover some area. So it's like actually it's a 6-panel folding screen. And the artist, he was painting so with paint on gold silk. Yeah.
Okay.
So in our case, of course, we put gold paint, but he already had this silk there, and it's dated around 19th century, so not that ancient, let's say. What I also found interesting, I didn't know that cranes are actually the symbol of longevity.
Okay.
It's interesting. But of course, you see in Japanese art, cranes are like really popular. They in this so this artist he belonged to Kimpa school, that was the name, and he was probably kind of one of the last you know, members of the school. And there, like, at least each artist from this school, they would paint cranes at least once, you know. It's so. And what's interesting also in this let's say artwork, the way he combines realistic painting with this kind of decorative applications. Yeah, so the cranes, you try to make them kind of all the shape, all these movements really realistic. And then the other parts like grass, yeah, it's really more in a decorative way. So there are no much shadows on those parts. It's more like, yeah, so yeah. Let's try.
Yeah.
All righty. Okay, let's sketch, let's say the ground. Yeah, so it's a bit shallow on the start and goes a bit bigger on top. Huh? And then we will be placing all the cranes. So of course, The ones that are closer to us, that are on the ground, they're bigger. Yeah, it's foreground and yeah. So now mainly just, let's say, the shape, or like the, maybe can do the legs. The legs would be kind of the top detail we do at this stage. What we need is more the size and proportions and position of them. So you can start also, let's say, maybe the first one on the left, then maybe it's better, you know, to move the one on the right, and then kind of fill in the space. For example, when we do the sketch, like those dark areas of cranes, these ones, one can make it once a bit darker with a pencil. So especially the neck, if you're doing this line of neck, then at once, because we will be putting gold paint on top of our pencil. When I was preparing the drawing, I actually tried to go around. So I did my pencil sketch with cranes, and then I was moving my brush all around those shapes. And in the end, I think, like also color-wise, to create the background, then it's more than you concentrate, you know, on the way you put this gold color, rather than worrying, okay, I touch this wing, I touch this nose. Oh, and since we're using acrylics, and since the cranes are actually not really white as it seems, and they're like their body, they have also, I've mixed just this gold, the same gold paint with white, and it gave this really nice, yeah, so we can kind of easily just cover all gold and then put. Why I'm telling this, it's because now when you do the sketch with pencil, yes, some parts put more effort on pencil, so it stays. For example, doing the sketch for the grass on the black part makes no sense. Once you put the black area, all your pencil is gone and you see nothing. Yeah? And for the flying cranes, I'd say it's kind of the same. First, I say, okay, where is my crane? The one on the left, so the most left one, then the most right one. And then you remember this technique, we can check any point position horizontally or vertically. So for example, the legs of the crane that is flying most on the right, his legs are finishing on top of the head of this second one that is standing. Yeah. So this helps me kind of to mark, say, okay, this is his point. Maybe I can also check the same crane, let's say, where his head, his red part of head is finishing, also on top of the first one that is standing. And then it's much easier to get this composition the way, like with the better proportions. And for example, also we can check the wing of this crane is actually a bit bigger, or kind of the same line as the legs. So it also helps me to, so I sketch here the wing and the legs, and they are more on the same vertical line. Yeah, and then, as I said, I put kind of the neck a bit darker. Yeah, okay, so here I have some extra lines. Of course, when you do this measuring technique, yeah, then you get some extra lines, you just erase them. Yeah, so I'm here with marker. So so now it's more analyzing the points, or let's say 50-50. Of course, I see this shape of wings, and it's really nice, of course, to study anatomy and see the way they turn the bodies and the wings and everything. But it's kind of a trick, you know, if you don't know it, if you don't really know how the wings correctly are moving and so on, then this trick of this just points, yeah, of the checking vertical positions, horizontal positions can so maybe also don't know if it helps you. You can put some part for these red heads, for example, if you're getting lost with lots of lines. And then it's also like, once I've decided the position of first crane, then I kind of step by step just saying, okay, the head of the second crane is kind of almost on top of the first one. So these two are flying almost one on top of the other. His legs, the second crane legs that is on top, his legs are ending like a kind of halfway of the body. The wing is that long. The next one is coming also. The head is touching the body of the third, and so on. And like, then I kind of move on. And then from moment to moment, I can check like a general also points. Let's say I've did 3 cranes, move to 4th, and then can check again. Okay, so my first crane, his, let's say, wing, where is vertically, it's vertically on top of the tail of the other one. Yeah, so somewhere here. And yeah, so this, of course, we use to recreate, let's say, the exact painting. Of course, one can go also with the free motion and let's say, okay, I might have more cranes, or I might have less, and the only thing that still would be valid is the ones in the sky, of course, you make smaller. Yeah, and also by sketching, let's say, first step, you might do more loose lines, yeah, and just to have the proportions and the position. And once you say, okay, my composition is fine, I'm happy with it, then one can kind of go the second round and precise some elements. So maybe yeah, those necks, some parts of legs, because legs, of course, those dark sticks are pretty kind of important, like the accent, yeah, of the painting.
Yeah, I'm just going to get a rubber a minute.
Yeah, sure. And also, let's say I see my sketch and I say, okay, actually, I did the cranes in the sky. They're kind of still big.
Yeah.
So either I can a bit lighten them up and make them smaller. Well, in this case, I'm with marker. I can actually go and make my cranes, the one on the ground, a bit bigger. Yeah, so just kind of.
Yeah. And that's exactly the same thing that I did, is I made my cranes in the sky too big.
I would say that's probably, it's hard to make them small. You really kind of have to, you know,
Yeah.
you paint them, then you erase, and but it's totally normal process.
And it's also because their wings are outstretched,
Mm-hmm.
and they're on a funny angle.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And sometimes it's with painting, some parts kind of, in general, our brains tend to do small or bigger when we draw the head or the face of people, and
Mm-hmm.
and then you know it, and then already with your brains, when you sketch, you kind of on purpose, you know, thinking, try to make it smaller or bigger, or
Yeah.
let's say with some details on the face. Kind of we tend the details to put smaller, but then you actually have to put the bigger.
Yeah.
It's
and also just putting them in the wrong place. You always want to put the eyes up too high, don't you?
Yeah. But then this technique, checking the position of the point vertically and horizontally, then it's just
This must be massive if it's a room divider.
So the sizes, I was checking it, I think the height is around maybe 1.70 meters. Okay, I don't know, yeah, probably the metric system for you.
No, yeah, metric's fine for me.
Okay, then good. Because I'm with inches and feet, I'm terrible at.
Yeah, I can work in both, so I don't mind.
Wow, curiously, that's.
Well, it's my age, so I learned in both.
Hmm.
I learned in feet and inches, and in meters, because I learned my meters at school, but my parents used imperial measurements. So
yes, curious. That's nice. Yeah. So then, yes, I think 1.70 meters more or less, because then you have to imagine it's not like a real wall, but like a room divider. So if the standard height of person is around 1.70 meters, okay, for Japanese maybe a bit less. And the total width was around 3 meters, something 3.60 meters. Yeah, but then it depends how you also fold them, and and it was actually one of very popular art, in those 18 something, so 19th century. It was very and I was checking other artworks, not only this painter, but also others who would paint those screens. Very nice. Also some mythological moments, like there is like a wind god and thunder god, I think, and others would be like really pale and gray, with the motion of fog and rain, something. So But this one is very famous, very popular, yeah. And now it is in United States, in Detroit Institute of Art. So in some year, it was purchased by the museum, and that's where it is by till now. Yeah, so. Yeah, so I'm not really sketching the grass.
No.
If one wants, one can make, let's say, maybe just those main ones that appear on the yellow surface.
I haven't bothered either because I just think it probably just make it up as I go along, really.
Actually, yes. So exactly while I was preparing this drawing for the lesson, I think I did all the mistakes, yeah. And I spent so much time sketching all this grass and like detail, precise, and then I put the black paint and like, oh, I see nothing, you know. So yes, saving the these disappointment moments for because it's also kind of you can't really do it, put the green and then go black. It will be more disastrously difficult. And since it's acrylics, then of course we can do it with the black, and then it dries and we put this green on top. And so, but I've discovered very nice also way to make this grass thin. Yeah. So we'll check on that when we get there. Yeah, when you're ready with the sketch.
Yeah, just on my last crane.
Sure, no, take all the time you want, Karen. It's really today no rush, it's really chilling. Yes, I would also generally in the shop I found the book about studying this Chinese and Japanese painting technique, when with a few strokes they make those because of course this is not the example of this. It also has the name, but I forgot. It's like a bit like a calligraphy, but it's a drawing. I'm sure you know it, yeah. This would be also interesting too. And like it comes always without the sketch, so no previously trying, to do with the pencil, and then let's say erase everything and leave 5 more important lines, and and then pretend you that's the ones you've because there is actually like really, I think you really need to catch those 3 important lines that the body of the cat has, and that's it. With those lines everyone sees, and not only sees it's a cat, you see the movement, or must be lots of paper thrown away.
Yeah.
So let's
right, I'm sketched.
Good. All right, then let's move to gold paint.
Yep.
If if you haven't been using it recently, check. You can either check on some separate paper or the same paper with, like, of course, directly on the artwork, but maybe somewhere in the corner. Just see how thick is your paint. Yeah? So, because the gold I have is the only one. I don't know if other gold paints come in the same, but it really has different texture. It's much more liquidish, mine one, and it's really much more transparent.
Yeah, mine's quite transparent.
Then perfect. Then probably
yeah, it's really transparent.
That somehow they make it. Somehow they. So then what we do? We will plan. So those light areas are really nice. I like them, like around the flying birds. One can maybe also make a bit more light the direction of flying, so maybe on the left a bit more light as well. So another mistake I did while doing this first painting, I have added white paint. So first I did mix of gold and yellow, then I got this kind of very non-transparent to cover all the main areas. And then I added white and I said, okay, with white, then I do this light area around. And actually it didn't work. Then I found myself just washing out with a watery brush, with water and with the paper towel, all this area out till I get back to the paper. Because in the end, actually, that's the paper that gives this more shiny effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's try to avoid the white. Yeah. Only in the process, maybe if it also doesn't work in experiment, but my suggestion is, so let's just gold first, just gold. So here I have gold and yellow put, but, and yeah, so I check again somewhere on the side. Yeah, okay, very, very transparent. Yeah. Then some part of gold can mix with yellow, see how it looks, because the mix of gold and yellow, you can also apply more transparent tea. Yeah, just because we remember acrylics, they can work both the watercolor type and yeah, because I've mixed with yellow, and then of course it's a bit more shiny at my part, because yeah, the gold also have it. The name is this heraldic gold, and I remember in the shop I was standing and it was like maybe 7 or 8 different gold paints, and so probably maybe you have the one that is more yellow, more shiny. There are golds that are more to brown sides and so on. So in the end, I have mixed my gold with yellow to apply for this shiny area. Yeah. Also, can still go and wash out a bit with water if needed. Yeah. Remember, if we do it straight away, we can wash out some parts. Yes, and of course, if I apply this in the watercolor type, then I can still see my pencil, and then of course we want to see it otherwise. Yeah. Using sponge can also be, you know, possibly to, if one wants, maybe cover more nicely the. But again, when I did with my gold, maybe the gold has kind of really different texture, and it didn't work so well. But, okay, I got too much yellow. Of course, I can, let's say, also go a bit around the bodies. Let's say to avoid that my cranes disappear completely. Then I just go around the bodies mainly, let's say, to keep visible where they are. Yeah, so.
Yeah, it hadn't even occurred to me to paint right across them. I have been going around them.
Yeah. So the ones flying at this moment, I did just across, just because I remember I was suffering going all around them. And the first one I was like, does it make sense or not? So, yeah, for example, one can go around just the bodies and the legs and maybe the head, then we cover, and then it's easier to put just on top this black line of neck.
Yes, I'm not bothering to go around the heads and the legs, just the bodies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then also some areas maybe it's worth like not fighting to have them like nicely with the first layer. Yeah, it's probably just cover it all, wait till it dries, and then when going on top with second layer, it will have it covered more nicely, the background. Yeah, because sometimes we move too much the brush on one spot, and then it actually starts taking off the paint.
Yeah.
So it's like the moment you feel it, there is no need to fight it. You will never make it nice. Just give a few minutes, let it dry, and the second layer will go really smooth and easy. And I always say it's just like painting walls in the room. You will never get it perfect with the first hand. That's why it's also kind of, when you paint, you always paint it in 2 layers, and because there is one moment when brush becomes your opponent. And once the background is done, I can also play a bit and maybe, again, kind of clean a bit. Kind of still allows. Clean a bit, I mean, kind of take off the paint in some areas. And like if I want to make it lighter. And of course, we go a bit more where the black part is. We just go a bit more with our gold there, because the black part we will be applying with this dry brush technique. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's good then we have some gold shining through.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, especially if you look the original, it's kind of the left part is like this, that the gold, sorry, the black is not thick. It's more exactly kind of strokey. Yeah. So maybe more just the left corner, I go to the end with gold, and the right one under the birds. Yeah, no, it's gonna be like there, and no need to waste the paint. Huh? So we just let it rest a bit. And then I say we go with black.
Okay.
We're gonna put the base layer, and then we're gonna also do the outlines for the birds. Like this, we will have already them precise. And
I'm way behind you at the moment. I've really not finished my gold.
ah, okay, sorry. Yeah. Then no worries. I think I also have maybe a smaller bit size of paper, so I'm waiting, Karen. Yeah, no.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting me know.
What are you doing next weekend?
Yay, the next weekend, I'm very excited. I'm going 3 days trekking, and it's a pretty popular route. So you travel to the point of Latvia where the two seas are meeting, where let's say the shape of Latvia is a bit like maybe a bow tie, something, and so the upper corner, right, is shapy, and that's where the open Baltic Sea meets this Gulf of Riga. And then from there you start walking down the beach back to Riga. So it's 135 something kilometers. And then I think we do it in 3 days, so 2 nights sleeping there. And this group that I'm joining, they also try to do it kind of in a more sportive way. So they're setting up kind of time limit, or so the first day it probably should be around 30 kilometers that you need to walk. The next day should be 60, and the third day, like what's left. And then of course you need to plan your backpack very good, because you're going to be carrying it. So I think I'm not taking a tent, just the sleeping bag and maybe the hammock. So kind of the hammock is light, and then you can just stretch between the trees. And so I'm still checking on the
How warm will it be at night?
Well, I hope it will be warm. Now it's like the spring this year is really very cold here. It's the end of May and it's still maybe 15, 13 degrees. And now it's also was lots of rains. And I think the main, if it's not raining, that would be the most important part. Yeah, and then what I heard that you really need to take lots of socks, because actually that's the clue not to get you know, those round parts on your feet, you know, when you walk too much and then you get these parts that hurt.
Blisters?
Blisters, exactly, that's the word. Thanks, Karen. So, and actually it's just by changing your socks every 2-3 hours, you really lower the, because your feet, yeah, they get sweaty. So you just kind of put one pair of socks on your backpack so they're drying, put the dry ones, and that's it. And then each stop, if you have like 5 minutes stop to rest, you need to take off the shoes, let them breathe, and then continue walking. Yeah. First, when I was planning, I was like, oh yeah, then I can swim, but it's gonna be cold. I don't think it's gonna be. But let's see. It's more like you know, these all these Santiago routes, like in Spain, they do these this pilgrim long, like 1 month walking or something. So let's say it's a little try out how it works. But yeah, like what I like is you walk in the group. So of course you have a guy that he knows how to walk, because not all the places you can cross just by the beach. Some areas you kind of still need to go in the forest area and go a bit around, and then either you have a map or Google Maps or something. So it's good to have people around you follow, but still you kind of walk in silence, you know, it's just you, no phone, and walking. So yeah, I'll share later how it went, how my feet got.
How your feet cope.
Yeah. I was watching the pictures from like the last year, because they do it like every year, and then they post pictures on Facebook, and then you could see the people resting, and then you put, you know, like your legs up on a tree. So it's like the way you rest, like you're with your back on the ground and your feet are kind of in the air. So then resting, so because the kind of the blood goes down, and yeah, let's see. I'm excited. And usually it also says like, okay, let's say there are 10 people who started and there are 2 people who arrived. I bet it's also sometimes tempting you just catch the bus and go
Yeah.
and you think like, why the hell I need it?
Is this the furthest you've walked then?
Yeah.
Right, I've got my gold on.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, so also like maybe give you 1 minute, maybe, so this lower part is dry. Yeah, so this bottom left corner. Yeah, so how I put, so let's say my brush is dry. Yeah, if it's not, so paper towel always helps. And especially so here in the, also in the original painting, you see the start is really, it's black, but it's kind of shiny through.
Yeah.
So, and it's really done easy. So just no water. Yeah, so my brush is dry. I fill in some paint, and that's it. Then I just start kind of stroking. Yeah, I can also correct it with how hard I press my brush. So first I go lightly, then I see when, okay, my paint is not leaving nothing, then I can push my brush a bit more. Yeah, and that's it, just kind of going slowly. And then later where it's needed. Yeah, so of course, let's say I can make my brush a bit wet. Yeah, and then because otherwise, of course, it's maybe not painting at all. And then what I can do, like if I made my brush a bit wet, then I can start in this right corner where it's more dark and more black. So I kind of also leave all the water more there. And once I feel my brush is starting to do these strokes, then I move to the areas where I want the strokes to be. Or I use also the paper towel and just kind of, I can slightly take off the humidity, but the paint is still there. And
oh, actually probably is dry enough.
so again, the right corner I can make more darker. There I don't really need to worry much of these dry brush strokes, maybe just on the upper parts, yeah, where the cranes are standing. There, like those brush strokes can feel like looking nicer, but those middle part where the green ones will be it. And then I just cover is one area.
Oh, I'm lifting off the gold paint at the moment. I'm gonna have to give it a bit longer.
Yes. Let it dry, yeah, because we have like 2 tasks to do with black. So now you can't do nothing. You really need to let it dry. And as usually the best way to avoid impatience of continue working, you just move to another part of the painting.
Yeah, I've just moved to the black right-hand side where there's no
Yeah. Oh, good.
Where it's just black.
Yeah.
And actually the gold under the cranes should be fine.
Oh, then good. Yeah.
It's just that left-hand side.
And so the next step would be just taking a little tiny brush. Do you need a few minutes or?
Well, yeah, I'll have to come back to that gold on the right hand side.
Yeah,
That
it's. I think it's
so
because
yeah,
it's again the story. The more you move your brush, the more messy it gets, and also we might start kind of taking off some part of paper as well.
yeah.
And
Yeah, so next we're going to take a tiny brush.
exactly. So I continue with black. Take tiny brush, the one you like, you're comfortable with, and we're gonna do all the tails, all the legs. Yeah, so we are, let's say, precising where our bodies are. So tails, legs, necks. Yeah, and then it will already feel. And in this case, it's a bit the opposite. I want my brush to be more wet. Like this, it's better makes the thin line. Yeah? Because when it's dry, then it leaves those brush strokes. And
would you show me that? Oh, you were using a really tiny brush.
yeah, so this is kind of the
yeah.
But I mean, of course, it depends first, of course, the paper size. But
yeah,
I imagine you also use A4, then it's pretty much the same story. Yeah, so as I said, it's like in this case, it's more watery, but it has enough amount of paint. Yeah, so it's not that it's watery, just transparent. So it needs to leave to sit the paint, but with water, of course, it's more easier. Yeah, and then let's say you do the tail, then you can at once do a bit this shape. So of where the body is meeting the tail. Yeah, it has those a bit curvy. Yeah, and also feel free to kind of, the tail is much more fluffy than we also tend to do in but it's okay. I mean, the fluffiness can be also corrected on a later once. So tail. Yeah, the legs also. Then of course I try. I put enough amount of paint on my brush. It's, let's say, pretty watery. If it's too watery, I mean, the water is not dropping. Yes, of course there are no water drops. And if I feel it's too watery, I can always take those excess, yeah, just by like swiping these horizontal movements, yeah, on a paper towel. Then it takes off those drops. And then the legs I try to do also, let's say, with the one movement, so not really cruising a lot there. And don't forget, go and refill. Yeah, so I did one leg, that's it. There is no more paint enough on my brush. I need to go and refill the amount of paint. Yeah? Yes, and then again, if you feel lost in so where your sketch is or something, the way I go is, so I have one bird where, okay, I see, okay, that's the tail and everything. And then I just move, so from the parts I did, and then again, I kind of check visually, you know, let's say with the picture I already did or with the original painting, and I compare, okay, where are the next parts in the same comparison, like vertically, horizontally, and then it helps me to situate them. So like if I find it hard time finding precisely where they are, then I say, okay, voila. So the next bird neck is somewhere on this level, and the legs in comparison with the neck, let's say in the middle, and then the tail. So this constant checking the like geometry, I don't know, like the coordinates, the XY story. Yeah, and also be more brave doing these ends of tail, like one stroke, like so those the lines with which the tails are ending. Then you kind of move your brush. You know, like when you move it and then lift it up, and it leaves this stroke. Yeah, and with the legs especially, one should kind of before painting them, just recheck those position with this vertical horizontal method, because yeah, they give really, let's say, importance of physically, yeah, how the bird is if you put the legs like really not the position they are. And for me, sometimes it also helps, I kind of move first my brush in the air where I kind of plan. Yeah, so I'm just kind of trying to get more precise. And so then it helps kind of see, visualize, and the position I'm aiming for. Yeah, because here is like really no second go. Yeah, so, but at the same time, the strokes should be secure, so not afraid. So if I've decided, okay, so I've checked visually, the tail is here, and I have my paint on my black paint and brush, and I kind of move in the air. So I'm getting, yeah, and then once then I go and I already have my strokes. The red heads will really give a nice accent. There are always some details on the painting we do, and then once you have them, and it's like, aha, you know, the painting starts talking starts being the. Yeah, it's impressive how some like little details, because we will need like a tiny drop of red paint and just like even not moving with the brush, just sitting those little parts, but they make a huge change.
I'm using a liner brush. You told us about them at our first class I joined you with. I'd never used them before, so and I still haven't used them. I did get one, and yeah, so I'm quite liking it.
Yay!
With varying degrees of success. Practice.
Karen, you're being too critical to yourself.
Always.
But I think it's everywhere. It should be. It's better the middle, yeah, the golden middle, because I often sometimes see. I think it was my niece. She used to paint with me a lot, and then in some moment, then of course, you know, she gets different result than I do, because you know, of course, I'm adult and I paint, and she's a kid. So, but of course, she's like sitting next to me and comparing, and then I see like she's maybe not being happy. And then she started to use this excuse, saying like, oh, okay, I'm an artist. That's the way I see it. And but then after I've noticed, you know, she's kind of stuck with this excuse. So in the end, one should be honest with yourself. Yeah, so it doesn't matter if I like your painting, if someone else, it's you. So kind of, if in your brain you've imagined it, or you're planning to do this painting like this way, then you work on it and work, and it's just, you know, like you painted the way you can, but not the way you want. So this is the moment you should just be honest and say, okay, I need to improve my technique. Just maybe I need to do the same drawing second time, and that's it. But not hiding this one because and I remember like my teacher, when I used to learn, she was saying it from time to time. Yeah, like you're not painting the way you want. You paint the way you can. That's because you're still learning, and that's just how you get it. And then of course the mastery is already when you can, but then you just decide. And so that we see it often in those like famous artists like Picasso, and the way they started, let's say, and you see they would have like very traditional, very like, you know, the classical, you know, the vase, the fruits, they're all painting very realistic with all the story of shadows and light, and but then they end up, of course, doing all this cubism and so on. But it's because they can, like, but if you can't do this start part, then I don't know. But maybe it's also in the end the opinion. With art, it's it's pretty much.
My great niece, I draw with her sometimes. She's 7. and she's all about what she can't do. And I said to her one day something about drawing a horse, and she was like, I like me drawing a horse, and she was like, you can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, I think I probably can actually. No, you can't. You can't do that. I'm like, yeah, I think I can. I said, and not only do I think I can, I think you can. Anyway, we did draw horses, and she hasn't said to me since that I can't draw that. She still says she can't draw that, but if she says she can't draw it, then we do it together.
Yay.
But you know, at that age, to already have decided what you can't do is sad, really, isn't it?
It's actually surprising, yes, if there is this feeling, because I think like as a kid, especially drawing, like all kids like to paint, all kids like to draw, and they're all happy with the drawings, and it looks like just, you know, some lines, some spots, but they're totally proud and happy. And so I wonder what happens when they get this insecurity. I don't know if it's actually from September, so this year, so after the summer is over, I got the job in school, in a public school.
Yeah.
So I will be the art teacher, and so I don't have the pedagogical education, but since there is like a big lack of teachers in not only Latvia, also Europe, they have this special program that if you have some high education already, so in some field, then you can apply and become a teacher, and it's kind of you work and parallel one day you study to get the pedagogics diploma. And I've applied and got accepted. So I'll start in school with lots of kids. Oh my God.
That's brilliant. How old are the children you'll be teaching?
I'm getting from the 2nd grade till the 9th grade. So it will be kids like from, let's say, 8 years old. And then, so in general, it will be 6 different years. The 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. And the 9th year, it's already, they are 15 years old, like they are teenagers.
Oh,
yes.
Real huge age range.
And I imagine like it will be fun with those 2nd, 3rd graders, like, they're going to be 8, 9. That's exactly the age kids like to paint, and maybe it's easier also to make them interest. And the teenagers, I'm a bit scared.
Yeah, that's reasonable to be scared of them. They're big.
They are big, and they are all in their handies, and they are being rude, and I don't know, they want to be adults, but they behave like
children. Yeah.
But let's see. It will be very interesting, definitely, experience.
I used to work in schools before I moved down from London. I'm not a teacher. I worked in the offices. And the first time I ever worked in a school, I worked in a really, really rough secondary school. So the kids were, 12 and up to about 18.
Okay.
And this one boy had been sent to me, and I was sending him home. I was doing the paperwork, and he was just being really a bit, rude and a bit leery. And I just went, well, really, how has this helped you? I was just like, what are you getting out of being sent home? And what was really funny is a couple of days later, he ran past me in the corridor, went, hello, miss. And I kind of really learned from that actually all they all want is to have consistent, for people to be consistent and to give them boundaries and be consistent about the boundaries.
Yes. That's a very good tip, actually. Thanks, Karen. Yeah.
It really helped me.
Yes. And also, let's say I've read the school program, so they have, of course, like all written, and it's so interesting. I was like, wow, I'm excited to go through it, like myself, because it's actually not even so much art, let's say the way we do it now. It's more just different topics to explore, and they are all connected a bit with music and with other areas, and think of this, find this, compare. Like, I wish I'd have something like this in times, I was but
yeah, it's very different from when I was at school, because they do connect the topics.
yes. They change it. They change a bit now. All the structure as well, and so actually it's also said like I need to cooperate with other teachers. Let's say check what literature teacher is doing now. So if they're studying this kind of book, I might combine it and do the. We'll see.
And it makes sense that because to join up their teaching in that way, doesn't it? So that they're getting approaching the same topics from different directions.
Yeah, I was also reading. It's like if you study about water, you can study it from the chemical, what it consists of. You can study what water represents as a symbol, what it is in art and everything. It's like in physics. So it's all I think it's much more interesting. It's kind of makes.
But also from your point of view of being a new teacher, having that kind of interaction with more experienced teachers will help as well.
Yeah. I'm also getting, since this is kind of special program, so I'm really zero experience. I never ever had a group of kids. So like now I have lessons, private lessons, but it's one-to-one and online. So of course very different with the kids.
Well, at least you're teaching a fun subject, so
Exactly. Actually, it was also the moment when I was applying. Just a little short break. So I did my black part, and now I will mix. So what I have black will mix with some white to have some gray. Yeah, because then there are also some grayish parts on birds. Yeah, so just not to make them all one black. We can use some gray.
Too late. I've already done the black.
Uh-oh. Talking too much, Rachel. I got relaxed and distracted. And yes, when I was applying, they actually told me, because like art is not really, so it also depends, because you apply and then the schools, they apply which teachers they're missing. And the most popular is English teachers. So these ones, like you can easily get a job because many schools, they miss English, like in Latvia. And then so I applied in the end like art and English in case, but in the end, I was very happy I do art, because of course teaching language is totally different story. And like, I think it's also, you need, from my point of view, much more preparation for the lessons. like maybe art, because I
Yeah.
just like to do it and know how to do it. Then maybe you can do some improvisation, and I don't know, but so yeah, teaching language. So and it's also like in Latvia, we have this story that, like, due to history, we have like Russian schools and we have Latvian schools.
Right.
And but of course, like with the years, they like it. So it's already, let's say, 30 years after the Soviet Union broke, and of course, like they implement like slowly that all schools must be Latvian, and but it's going slowly, but it's going. So my subject is all in Latvian, 100%, but the school in itself, it's kind of Russian school. So the kids that are there, they all speak Russian at home. And then I was talking with the director, and she told me, it's like, you should hold. It's like, if there is one time you let them communicate, in their language, that's it. They will not want to go back to the, because they know Latvian, but since it's not your mother tongue, then of course you prefer to something like this. And
but one of the schools I worked in, most of the children were of Bangladeshi origin. Either first or second generation immigrants mostly. Children were second generation, and if they could speak Sylheti, they would. Of course, I don't speak Sylheti.
Yeah. But I think that's also the trick, since you don't speak, like the kids, they don't have choice, and they kind of then go. But once they feel you can, then you are in a trouble. But, but I think in the end, all kids, they just want attention.
And
so, of course, then you try to make it interesting. So, like, if it's interesting, then the kid itself will be sad, if for misbehavior he has missed the fun task. I mean, at least I hope, that's what I imagine. That like the other kids would do this and he would be left out, and like, oh, I didn't paint this, or didn't, I don't know. So, okay, some birdies I did gray, and some birdies I'll do the gold mixed with white. Also, for example, when painting, I like to take breaks. If I did for a long time some parts, like all these detailed legs and all these detailed, then let's say maybe I will switch, do now those red dots, then make my painting happy with those, and then can move again to and recently also I started getting lots of new students. So I've signed up on Preply. So it's like also web page, like it's a bit different. So it's not like Eventbrite. Eventbrite is more like about events. But pre-ply is really about like, there are teachers of all kind of, maybe most popular, of course, are languages. But I've signed up also as a painting teacher. It takes a bit long there for all the process to get through, they get you accepted and so on. So I don't know, maybe waited half a year or something. And now finally it kind of started working out, and I'm getting so much different, interesting students. Like I had two girls from I think Taiwan or something, and then there were girls from the States, and then there are also, let's say, some Russian boy, but they live in UK, and like they're all different, and like one wants to draw this, the other this, and also some Chinese girl, and so I'm really having fun, and some want to learn in this language, so I kind of teach sometimes in and it's fun. I get to paint in lots of different topics, because I also usually ask, what's the wishes, and so I'll be painting now from some cartoon, like, so the children say, oh, I love this cartoon. It's like, all right. Then paint, and I mean, it's interesting because you kind of, the world becomes so both like wide and close, like you see all so there is also one girl, she's from Austria, but then she lives there in somewhere in the States, and then we already kind of, like after, if you had like, if the connection is good, and then you teach more, then you already kind of know the person, and you can chat, and then she shows me her cat, and in the end we end up like, a little bit painting, and then the rest is kind of, they want to chat, they show you the toys and tell some jokes or some stories. And,
This is your children's class, is it, that you do?
It's actually, I've signed, like, so I made my profile for both, but I think somehow it's more popular that parents book it for children. And so I think I have maybe like 80% children, and then there is one like adult, or two adult girls that like they want like improve painting skills, and then of course then we do something more. I explain all this theory and so on.
It's a really good way to learn languages, though, if you want to learn and speak in English. To do it via painting just seems to a bit, as we were talking about with children, and linking subject areas.
I agree. Well, in general, it was also one of my ideas, and sometimes I also positioned like that I offer language painting lessons in some language, that maybe parents want the child to improve. But somehow, honestly, it didn't work so much. It's only maybe if, for example, now I see, so there is like the couple, I think the mother, she's like Russian speaking, and the father, he's from UK, and then they have a daughter, and then I do these painting lessons. And the daughter, of course, for her is much easier English, but the mom, she wants me to speak with her in Russian, so then of course she gets a bit more practice. But it's not really kind of the girl, she's there to paint, and then she says, no, I don't understand. And because kids, they always choose what's easier. They
Yeah.
and my sister, she lives in the States and she has children, and so I've seen it how this process was. It's no, they just kind of refuse and they say, no, mom, speak normal language. And you know, they're not interested in those efforts. And so only maybe it's situations where they have no choice, and maybe it's kind of, I don't know. And then again, also in these all different lessons, so sometimes I get the kids and it's really fun and easy to work with them. And sometimes the kids I get, whew,
Yeah.
I get like really tired. And then you think, like, do I really need it? But then of course, like, if you manage with this, let's say not difficult, but with this more complex kids to go through that, they are in the end happy, and yeah, then of course also this, and then you're also of course happy with the. And there is one girl, she's really like, if there wouldn't be her mom sitting next to and helping, it would be like really, I think I wouldn't manage, because then she just refuses. Then she says, no, this, I'm not painting. And then she will just sit back on the chair. I don't know how to do this. I don't manage. And then I try, you know, okay, let's go slowly. This line here, this color. No, it's not working. I don't like it. I don't want it. So, and then thanks God, her mom is like there around, and then she gives her a push, and then we continue. Yeah, and then some kids kind of, they manage it also easy. I'm painting something, they're like, oh, I'm ready, let's go next. And it's like, oh, I'm not ready yet, you know. And exciting. Probably patience, I don't know if is the main.
Yeah.
Characteristic that teacher should have.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know, maybe also the interest, like your own interest in your subject, you know, then maybe this interest kind of passes to, I don't know, I will experiment this year, September. Come closer. Yeah, but it's nice. I was also lucky. So between these school options, and then so in the end, I was lucky they had this art position, and the school is really close to my house.
Ah, that's good.
Yeah, so I can even go bicycling there. And because first they told me, okay, like you might have some art position, but maybe it's even can be outside Riga, so maybe like you need to relocate if you want to do this, or okay, and we are just chatting and not explaining nothing about the birds.
The beaks, have you done them in grey?
So the flying ones, some I did these 1, 2, 3 first, I did in kind of light gray, and these 3 in the back I did more in gold mixed with white. And then these big birds that are at the bottom standing. So I also do this gold mixed with white, but then I do just kind of those, I remember how I did. First I covered like one base layer, like very watery, so this gold with white, very kind of just, so it looks more like beige or something. And then afterwards, I remember I did just those curvy lines, gold lines on top of the body. Yeah, because I mean, I didn't want to leave them white, the bodies, because they're not really white. Yeah, so I go now around the bodies and also kind of correct. So if somewhere I had my gold background over, now it's also the moment I can kind of correct and just put this light spot to have the body a bit more shape. Should be. Here also like next to the legs, sometimes it's gone. And those kind of triangles. Nice. Bury these. And then we will do the grass. Yeah, I will. So I'm waiting to the birds are drying. Then I'll do this a bit gold curvy lines and the grass. So the way I was doing it. So again, just of course with the thin brush I have, that of course sometimes still works too thick than one, let's say once. And in the end, I was working both, like in one hand, I had the brush with the black paint in it. That was not watery, pretty dry. And then this green, the thin brush with green paint. And then of course, the strokes of the grass, you start from, so direction is, yeah, from the where it starts growing. And then, so it will be like the first, I don't know, 10 grass parts, you know, that you do kind of, and sure, later you already, you start really being like your hand gets used to it. And so it's again kind of the first ones we can do somewhere in a corner. Yeah, how is it, Karen? Shall I wait? Yeah.
No, I'm with you.
Okay, perfect. So I mix my green. So the green you like, you know, there is now at this moment no. Can be a bit more yellowish, yeah, but of course it should look good on black. So let's say more bright is better than more pale. And a bit similar as usually my brush is more wet and with enough of paint. Still, I can use sometimes, you know, like I filled up my brush and I see it's all around with paint. I can just, I go like this, so it takes some excess and it's more clean. And then just, okay, start anywhere. And then I start, so again, if know the way they are growing, so I'm starting where it starts, and this little end of the red should be where my movement of the hand is ending. And maybe first we can do these long ones. Long ones. And then it will be easy from them start those strokes. Yeah. So again, here let's say I started in this corner, right corner, because we will have lots of grass there, and then so the ones I do messy now, they'll be later last among all others. And here's the thing. So I did one. It's still too fat, yeah, and the movement is nice. I like it. So actually, I just did with the other brush. I just take some black, and then I can just correct it. Yeah, and yeah, so maybe don't have to do it with each one, because some of them you will get nice shape, and some like, okay, less lucky, and then I can correct. And then also try to do this movement a bit kind of curvy going up. Yeah, so it's like doing those ones, I feel it's a bit both, let's say 50% technique, 50 good luck, because sometimes I do and I feel, wow, nice one. And sometimes I do and it's like, oh, such a fat. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I get a fat one and then I just take my second brush and it really corrects it so nicely that it gets like really beautiful, you know, then because I kind of move my brush and it even prolongs a bit my green line. It makes it very nice. So if one could, like, is not lazy and can have lots of time, you can work like each on this, yeah. But then of course also try make the line a bit curvy, the one of, and the movement. Yeah, and then again, so maybe it makes sense first make those main ones where kind of it's, they all are holding. But it depends, maybe just jumping around. It's also good. Yeah, and after one has experimented with those ones in the corners, then it's already a bit more brave, can go here in those. Yeah, the main, sometimes it's a bit difficult with the direction because maybe we want to, it's easier for us to go from up to down.
Mm-hmm.
But the thin end of the plant is on the upper part.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a bit kind of uncomfortable part, but I advise still go this uncomfortable direction because then we get a thin end.
Yeah.
You know, of, because you kind of lift up the brush and then it's.
Would you not turn the painting upside down?
Yeah, I mean, of course you can. I just have it, yeah, sticked. And, but actually, yeah, I didn't thought about it. My masking tape is eliminated this idea of my good one. Yes, and here again, kind of the more brave you go, the better they look. Yeah? And even if your brave stroke looks a bit more fat, still it looks nicer than when you go slowly and like, and here, I correct here, and.
Yeah, I understand.
But I have both strokes as well. I mean, not all of them are so nicely, wow, done from one touch and perfect. So, nah, I mean, one wish, but I also think. Yeah, now think so. If the size of this painting was big, so then he painted, of course, probably different those. He could just sit in color one, one line, and then it looks nice and thin. But it's just because the size of it is big, and then. Have you also tried ever painting on textile, like on silk or something?
I have, yes, but only not using acrylics,
Uh-huh.
only using fabric paint.
But it's similar, or no, it's not similar to acrylics.
You need to, no, not the stuff I've used isn't. It tends to be thinner.
Mm. And what's the main story? What you have to be like kind of thinking or careful when painting on?
It depends. I've never painted on silk. I've only ever painted on cotton.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the biggest, you need to stretch it.
Uh-huh.
You need to make sure it's pulled tight.
Yeah.
It's a bit like using canvas.
Yes.
And I would have guessed that it was the same with silk painting as painting on silk as well, is that you would really need to make sure that you had that it was tight.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense, of course. But probably some stretching.
You could use, I mean, depending on how big the piece was, but you could just use a big hoop. And
Yeah.
and that's kind of what I've used it for, is I've been combined painting with embroidery.
Mm-hmm.
I've also done something. I've used acrylics to print onto fabric, and I didn't stretch it then.
Yeah.
Have you heard of jelly printing?
No, but sounds exciting.
It's a type of mono printing, and you use. I mean, traditionally they're made from gelatin, but you can buy synthetic ones now.
Mm-hmm.
And you can put acrylic paints onto them, and then use that as a medium. Take paint off to give you your paint, to give you kind of your shape that you want to print, and then lay your fabric onto the plate.
Okay. Yeah, more or less. Didn't imagine it really, but what was the word? Like jelly? Yeah, I'll Google it.
Jelly, Gelli.
Yeah. Okay.
If you put jelly printing into Pinterest, you'll get loads and loads of stuff back.
Yeah. Cool. So much stuff outside, isn't it?
Yeah.
One life is not enough.
No. And I'm terrible. I like new.
Mm,
New, different.
yes, yes. That's sometimes I also kind of think I should like choose one medium, choose one topic, and then go improving myself, and like getting better as like artist. Then maybe you start selling stuff because people see, okay, she works in this style, she paints, let's say, animals, but I paint everything with everything. And so it's kind of you don't get your style or get better in one medium because you're constantly jumping and changing, and I don't know.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
And then I use excuse saying, yeah, I'm still searching, I'm still in experimental
Development.
phase. Yeah, just okay, let's see how long more it's okay. But yes, like learning always something new. I even feel somehow it's even like addiction. Like, oh, I haven't been learning nothing new recently. Let's explore and study, and then when you read all these, I don't know, stories like how get successful, then it's exactly about the opposite. Choose one, stick with one, do constantly one thing, and this will and then you're like, damn it. Okay, maybe there is also chances to people like us.
Yeah, pretend to be different people so that each of your different styles, give yourself a different name.
Oh my god. Actually, I think some artists, they do it like when they have developed one, let's say, technique or topic or something, but then they're interested in some like not to make like the others confused, they pretend it's another artist, like they take another name and then sign. But most important is have fun, enjoy what you do, and all these stories about success is it's really. And I really think also, like, of course, the social media and everything nowadays, like if I wouldn't know that all these Instagram parts is like, it's a lie. But if you don't keep it in mind, then you're like, oh my god, the whole world is so talented, and they paint like huge painting, really cool artwork like each week, and I'm here stuck with my painting for months. But then of course, behind there is like a huge marketing team, and so on and so on. So I mean, there are of course also hardworking but oh well.
Right on my painting. Right with wet paint.
Wow,
He's so not allowed on.
Need to check,
Sorry?
What's his name?
He's called Willoughby.
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 Nice name. Very musical sounding, like da-da-da.
It's from a Jane Austen book.
That's why it sounded some familiar.
Yeah. He my cat disappeared during lockdown, and I never found him. And about 3 weeks after he went, this one just slipped in through the cat flap one night.
Wow.
And he was in a right state. He looked really terrible. So of course I fed him.
Of course.
And fed him outside, mind. but he spent the night. And then he came back the next morning for feeding. And then he went away, and then he came back the next evening for feeding. And then he spent the night, and then he was still there in the morning. And then that was really it. He just stayed.
Oh, I mean, the cats, they don't stay, let's say, anywhere. They are really picky, and they would prefer being independent, and just come by sometimes for the food. So I think it really means a lot. Yeah. And when the cats choose.
And that's what he's turned up for now, is because I normally feed him when I finish work. I would have already done it normally, so that's why he's turned up. He's now sat behind my computer watching me.
He's telling, it's time.
Yeah.
Karen, what's taking you so long with these birds? Come on. I can show you how to paint birds quickly. Pam pam, with a few paw touches.
Oh, that's terrible. What time is it, Evie?
Let's take a look. I also have no idea. It's almost 8. So your time 6. Yeah. So
yeah, no, I've learned.
All right. I will take all the masking tape.
Send you a picture. I, of course, haven't finished.
But let's take a look how it went. Do you finish later your artworks, like after we?
Some of them I do, and some of them I don't.
Okay.
Just depends how.
Yeah.
How much I like them, how good whether I think they've got anything, whether I think I really want to start again. Am I in the right thing? I'm not in the right thing, Joe.
Yeah. And then later your paintings, do they end up somewhere like giving to your grandchildren or some present, or you just like?
Occasionally I may consider giving somebody something. It has to be pretty good though.
Yeah. Because sometimes, like once it's framed, yeah, with passepartout, it often gets a really nice touch feeling. And
yes, mine are all headless at the moment. They will have heads. I quite like this.
Wow, interesting. It's jumping. So.
I need to do some more blending.
So, of course, the red heads and the peak, are missing.
Yeah.
And really like the reeds, especially those on here on the right side. Somehow turned out very, very nicely. Yeah. So the sky around flying birds, became messy.
Yeah.
With those white on top, it became a bit kind of foggy. It doesn't look clean. It looks like a bit as a separate spot or
Yeah.
I'm thinking like maybe once it all is dried, what I often also use with acrylics is I'm putting like a layer on top, and I could go on top, so not only like the sky around the birds, but I would even like with no worries going a bit on top birds if you do this like watery layer with the yeah. So I take the brush with watery and then just kind of, so it gives the another tone, yeah, so it would maybe cover this whiteness, so so it will lose those
Yes, it will bring it all together.
exactly. So
Stop
again,
it from
so
looking as if
because
it's separate.
this color is really nice, so nice bright gold yellow color, yeah, it's like very so bright, emotional, warm. So bringing a little bit on top will let you both keep this area a bit lighter, yeah, as we also wanted and let's say aimed, that it's a bit different than let's say the rest of backgrounds, but it will give it all
Yeah.
and a really cool brush strokes. You see, it worked.
Yeah. I did turn mine upside down.
Uh-huh. Yeah. No, I mean also, so not only the plants, but also this black on top of the gold.
Yeah, looks
Yeah,
so much better. This looks
like
so much better.
you using this dry brush, it's something, it's so easy, and at the same time we get such a nice texture effect.
Yeah.
And the secret is just don't take water and here you go, like yeah, it's and then you can experiment if you take wider brush, yeah, maybe your strokes then are different or so on. And I think you should like, I mean, makes sense to finish because it's not much work left. Do the peaks, do the red heads, a bit more green strokes, and yeah, and then trying with the sky, because you've managed to do them small. I like it. Yeah, they really feel small flying away. So the size, and then the front ones, they're bigger staying. So, and the shape is nice also. Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I will finish this one. I actually quite like this.
Yeah. Very, very nice, Karen. I'll stop recording for now since we are